Dr. Lamar Goree is Superintendent of Caddo Parish Schools. Welcome back to Keel. Doc, how are you this morning? Let's start with, I guess just everybody wants to know, so what's the plan? And I'm going to say that first and then say, I would imagine you're considering about a million things right now, huh?
Wow, probably 1,000,001. And first off, happy summer to you guys. And you're right. Yeah, we're considering 1,000,001 plans, but really working hard to get that down to 3, 4 at the most possible options. And to be honest with you, the plan will be based on what is in the best interest from a health and a safety perspective of our children and our employees. And those are decisions that we have to make as we continue to learn more about this virus and go through this pandemic.
As you look at all your options, I'm not going to sure. I was going to say, is it fair to say that priority number one is to get kids back in school? But then I said that out loud, and it doesn't sound that smart.
No. Priority number one is safety, the safety of our employees and our children. And as we go through and develop our plans, I think it's important to note that the normal is no longer the normal. And whatever we do, it will definitely incorporate a high level of things to prevent the spread of the virus, things to encourage hand washing, use of sanitizers, things to discourage large crowds until we have a vaccine for this virus.
I don't mean to back up too far here, but going back to finishing up the 2019-2020 school year, was the online stuff in your mind a success, or did that leave you wanting for the education of many?
You know, one thing I would say that this pandemic did point out was just the huge inequity and opportunities that exist in our community. And that's when you look at things like technology, access to internet, high-speed quality internet. Those are things that we certainly have to address as we go into next school year. I will say that I would not say it was not a failure, because it did provide opportunity for us to identify many ways to be successful. And there are so many children that did continue on with their education, but there are some equity holes that we have to fill, especially in a large urban system, if we are to possibly end up in that situation next year. So that's a lot of the work that we're doing over the summer, is really building plans to first, how do we address what I call the corona gap? We've always talked, well, let me call it the corona slide. We've always talked about the summer slide, which is that body of knowledge that kids lose over the summer just because they're at home chilling. But now we have the corona slide, because there's 8 more weeks of knowledge that we have to build into next school year. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to do that in many creative ways to do that remediation work.
Are you failing any students this year, or no? Are they all going to advance?
So, no, not everyone will advance. What happened was we incorporated a no-harm policy. So whatever grade you had on March 13th, your grade could not go down from that grade. So if you were failing on March 13th and you chose, or you did not, I don't want to say chose, if you did not participate in the online, you would still be failing. However, so many children saw this as an opportunity to improve their performance and to gain more knowledge and improve grades. So only people that would be failing were people that were failing on March 13th.
CDC guidelines for reopening schools have some real strict limits on desks in classrooms, kids on buses. How concerned are you about that? Are they almost impossible to follow and reopen our schools?
You know, I think it's important to note that everything that we've received to date has only been a recommendation. We do look to continue to work with the Louisiana Department of Education as well as the Louisiana Department of Health to determine what does that look like in our state. I think we can see from turning on the TV that not all states are addressing this pandemic the same way. So I do think that in coming weeks, we are going to hear more specific from our leadership as to what that looks like in our parish. But to answer your question about some of the guidelines that have been released by the CDC or the recommendations, they will certainly present challenges. But again, we are developing schedules where one schedule, everyone goes to school. One schedule, we have limited, it's a hybrid where you have partial online instruction, partial in-person instruction, and of course, if we are to end up in a closed setting again, we'll be much more robustly prepared to do online instruction.
Doc, let's talk a little cash. Everybody seems to have none of it anymore. Municipalities, cities, towns, states, the federal government, they can print money. You can't. What kind of budget deficit, money hole has this all put you in?
You know, one thing, I never appreciate the power of being able to push a button and print money until this. But
Yes.
I will tell you that we are thankful that the CARES Act came along, because we would be in very big trouble had that have not happened. And I think it's important to note and really applaud my staff and our board. We were in position to outperform our budget on March 13th. However, Corona happened, and we then had to make some decisions. We immediately had to make a decision: do we continue to feed children? There's a huge cost there, and we didn't budget for that. You know, we had to then make a decision that we know we have a lot of children of poverty, and do we go out and buy Chromebooks so they can have access to a quality education? And we had to do that and hadn't budgeted for that. So there's several large ticket items that we have to make up for in this budget. As we go into the next budget season, our board has to make some big decisions. And I think a lot of those things are around how do we make sure that we remain financially sovereign. So excited to report to the public that we had no cash problems. We made payroll. There are several districts, in fact, many districts, who ended up taking out loans and things like that. But we were financially strong and did not have to do that. But again, if we're going to continue to do that in this unpredictable time, we have to be very careful with how we spend our resources and how we use them. So there are some decisions to be made around how we manage our money, for sure.
Shreveport's going to be short $25 million is what they're projecting. What is your number? What is the school system going to be short?
You know, it's still a little difficult to say. We project, well, their 25 is 9 for us. And it's 9 because that's the amount of money that we are anticipating that we will lose in sales tax that we had budgeted to receive. However, when you look at some of the other costs associated with things that we've had to do, and many of them have been the direct result of the virus, we're probably looking at about $12 million. But we're fighting to get that down by the time we adopt a budget at the end of June.
I think the last time I saw you, you were in here with Dr. Kay Drummle, and I wanted to ask you this morning. He's been given. Looks like he's going to get the job as head of education in the state. Your feelings on that? Are you excited?
Oh, I could not be more excited for our Dr. Drummle. You know, Kate is I tell people that he started right at J.S. Clark as a teacher, so everything he really knows he learned at Caddo. But Kay Drummle certainly took his experience as a teacher to go on and be a great principal, incredible superintendent in DeSoto. The work he did there speaks for itself, and truly leading what would be our largest and probably most complex system with a lot of fidelity down in Jefferson. So extremely happy for Dr. Drummle and the children of Louisiana.